it's a bit of both now. There's those people that are still going for teaching just because of it's easy to be employed. There's a demand. But now, if you check, we are now. There's a lot. I think there's someone that was trying to apply for education now with UNISA, and the application were rejected because of we have a lot of overflow of the people that are coming into the space. So you need to be very passionate about it, because when you are, then it's easy for you to be employable.
Thank you so much to all our viewers and everyone who's tuning in. I'm very excited today to welcome you to Numbers Don't Lie. It's a very special session for me because it's all about education. And you know that I'm your education activist, I'm your businesswoman, and I'm your village girl. So I'm also sitting with my fellow village brother, right?
Yes, that's
so
correct.
Welcome so much to Numbers Don't Lie, where we're just talking about our lives, our journey, and just narrating the fact that numbers are very critical. On a day-to-day basis, we use numbers, but we don't really take them into consideration as we work and as we do our lives. And the fact that we are here because of the numbers of our lives. So today, welcome. And maybe just to help our viewers and our listeners, who are you? What is your passion? A bit about yourself.
No, thank you so much, Millie. I think I've always had a problem with introducing myself in many spaces, especially now that I'm not in my space of birth. When you are in the GP or Gauteng space and having to introduce yourself and you say you Tabero, and then people will be like, Tabero? Or they say something that is not even making sense. And I am very skeptical of people mispronouncing my name because it changes the meaning.
Yeah.
And you are a number person, I'm a language person. So I'm very sensitive to people mispronouncing things because words really add value. Words create life. Words can destroy life as well. So I'm basically Tabero. In short, to answer your question, Tabero Wane Matangari. Born in Venda, I'm also a village boy, you can say. And then after when I was around 5 or 6, and then we moved to Joburg in a township called Alexandra. That's where I spent most of my life. Did my schooling there. Started my I started or I did my grade 5 in Alexandra until grade 12.
All right.
And then until I went to varsity and studied education. I had a whole lot of other things that I did before going into education, like spaces of retail. I've done that before I went to education. I am a brother. I am a son. An activist as well in education. One who stands and believes strongly that everyone deserves a better education. Especially for me, education about self. That's where I'm more vocal at, for people to understand who they are before we can talk about them understanding English, them understanding mathematics, them understanding numbers. They need to understand who they are. So that's what I stand for.
True.
Yes.
So there's a village boy and a township boy in you.
That's correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome and thank you for that. And indeed, words are very powerful and they shape us. So maybe just to take us a bit down to being a township boy in Alex, how was life there?
Wow. Quite interesting. When we went to Alexander, I remember 1999 when we were traveling that side. It was in December. We were going for Christmas. And little did we know was that it's going to be our full time moving into the space. And, being a rural boy, you have this picture of Gauteng, you have this picture of Joburg, large buildings and all those nice lights and whatnot. So I remember driving into Alexander. We used London Road right into the space. When you enter London Road, if you know London Road from the entry, right? When you drive in, the first view that you see is the larger buildings that are there by Sentin. So I'm like, wow, finally I'm in the city, Still young at that time. And then you get to the space. I was exhausted. Obviously, we slept. And then in the morning when I woke up, I was like, so this is Joburg, man. But anyway, yeah, so those misconceptions that we have when we are young about the township or the Joburg life, and then coming into a space that is a township, it's very busy. There are tiny spaces. There's no enough movement, and we had parents that were very strict. And I understand. Then I used to think that they never loved us enough. They never wanted us to explore enough. But when I then reflected later, I realized that the space that we were in needed a parent that was very strict. Because Alexandra has got anything and everything that you can think of, substance abuse, gender violence, and all these things that are very nasty and disturbing. You can come across them in Alexandra. But thanks to my parents, I think, for being so tough on us, because that on its own shaped the person that I am today. There are many instances where I'll go into a space and then I introduce myself as a township boy. They're like, "Are you sure you're from the township?" Like, "Yes, I am." "No, you don't look like you're from the township." And then I ask myself, what does a township person look like? Should I have, I don't know, a certain walk, a certain articulation of words, or because I just made sure that whatever the parents were asking us not to do, I do not do. To a point where when I finished my grade 12, because one thing again about the township life is that we don't have enough role models within our spaces. We don't have people that we can look up to. We don't have, and it was very troubling for me growing up, knowing that I don't have anyone that I can look up to, especially for a young man like me. The issues with men, we don't have enough people that are there to listen to us. When you cry, you are a cry baby, you are a CC and whatnot. So it troubled me to a point where I felt like I needed to create a safe space for the other brothers that never, got the opportunity to have someone that they can look up to, or someone that can listen to them as well, right? And I created a space. I remember in 2017, I created a space. I called it Smart Idiots.
Okay.
And that word on its own, I told you that I'm very,
Your language.
particular in, yeah. So
And
smart
you are
idiots.
using idiots.
Do you understand? So the irony there, how do we have smart and idiot coming together? Where does that come from? So my entire life in Alexandra, I lived as a very stupid type of boy, or an idiot,
Yes.
just to protect myself. So I was never a cool guy. Boskotani, when they come into the space, I was never a part of that. And then people would ask, "Are you normal? Are you okay? What's happening? Why you like you can't connect with the brothers in the township, in the Kasi? You can't connect to because I needed to be very idiot about everything that I did and everything that I was experiencing at that time. But that worked to my advantage, because now when I go into the township, they're like, "Yo, this guy is the smart one." They all want to listen to me. I'm like, at times I don't even know what to say to them. I don't even know how to even advise them, because I feel like somewhere, the favor that comes from the higher power is also there for my life to be what it is now, for me to not be exposed and find myself being a victim of all the other activities that happen in the township. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but yeah.
Indeed, you are really answering because
Yeah.
I always admire. In a way, it's admiration when I meet people, especially people I'll meet now in the professional space, and they tell me they grew up in Soweto, they grew up in Alex. I'm very, very loud about me growing up in the village,
Yeah.
the challenges of the village, and just being here, because indeed, from a village, the opportunities are slim. But the first time I went to Alex, and then I went back to work, I was doing my articles, and then one of my colleagues was Brian. Brian is purely from Alex. I went to him and say, "I admire you. How did you come out of this
Yeah.
township and you made it here?" Because there's so much influence. By the corner, there's something happening.
A lot.
By the corner, and if you don't do it, you might be seen to be when like you think you are dead.
That's correct.
Why do you not want to be part of our group?
Ubari,
Peer pressure
they call
is
you that,
very
yes,
it's
yeah.
very real then. So I would maybe just help someone who's growing in the township now. I hear that is your parents that helped you. It's your not the love you were an idiot. What will be that advice for a young person growing in the township?
I'm always getting invitations where I am working now to come and talk to the scholars, the kids in the schools. And there's an analogy that I use, which is a hand, to try and explain success to them. How do you become successful in life? And in the hand, you've got these 5 fingers that are there, right? And each finger has its own explanation, or there's a story behind each finger, right? Which is the tiny one for me is the humble beginning. We need to know that we all start small. There's no a baby that is born running, right? And I can say a lot about my story and the humble beginnings. Like I said, I'm also a village boy. I was born in the rurals as well. And from the rurals to the township as well. Do you understand that transition from a very chill type of a environment to a very busy space that can expose you to all those things that you spoke about? So that's my humble beginning, right? So we all need to understand that we start from the humble beginnings. And then number 2 is commitment. Find your vision, find your story, and commit to it. Just commit. If you are a student in the township, commit your studies. If you are starting a small business in the township, learn to commit. Right, that's the second finger there. We know when we have weddings, the rings goes, to that finger. That shows the commitment that I'm talking about. Yes, and then now, I did this at this other particular school, and then I felt like I was offending people. So I don't know if it's okay for me to do it here, but let me not do it here because I don't want to offend anyone.
Let's not offend
but
anyone.
If you just hold your hand like this, you'll see of all these 5 fingers, this is the one that is always standing out. Right. So when you aim and when you set your goals, make sure that you are aiming high. Right? They always say the sky is the limit. I don't know how true is that, because some of the people will say the only limit is the one that you set yourself. Let's not even put the sky into the equation, but let's aim high, right? And then when I was making them laugh, I just moved to Jane First last year, or to Skukuni area last year, where I am working now, right? And for me to locate schools, it was very difficult because my job requires that I move around the schools. So it would be very difficult for me to move around the schools using a navigator, because some of the locations cannot be picked from the navigator. So when I asked for direction, this is the finger that was always used. So this means that as a Kasi boy or anyone that is growing it at any space that is very disadvantaged, if you know that success is here, direction is what you need as well. You need direction. If you don't have a direction, obviously you end up anywhere we are moving.
Someone is going this way.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's then the disadvantage of not having a direction. But at least if you have a direction, then you are safe. You are key. Then the last one will be the thumb. This is the strongest one that you can come across from your hand, right? Which the thumb for me is the support system. I made sure that I created support systems for myself. In the school, I was a part of the social clubs within the school. Your peer counseling groups, your environmental groups. I don't know music, but I was also a part of the music group, and that way I was trying to make sure that I have a support system in and around all the areas of my life, so that at least I live a balanced lifestyle, and I also have people that I can run to when I have something that I do not understand. So support system. So your success is always in your identity, because let me also say something interesting about the hand. When we go to the Home Affairs for our identities, you will never be asked to take off your shoes for the fingerprint. It's the hand.
Your hand.
The hand has your identity. So it's very key that you also know your identity, who you are, because that's where the success lies. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing in the numbers, guys. Did you hear that? 5.
Yeah.
Number 1, humble beginnings. Number 2, you need to commit.
That's true.
Commit to what you choose. Yeah. And that also reflects to the fact that what did you choose? Because sometimes you don't know. Then you find yourself in these small little corners because you don't have anything to commit to.
True.
Number 2, you mustn't aim as much as a township boy in a village. Number 3. You mustn't aim like here. Yeah. Why are you aiming here? So you must aim high.
Yeah.
You need your direction, number 4.
That's number 4. Yes.
And support really comes in number 5, because if you don't have support, you will find support in the corners, in the streets, because we are human beings, we are social beings.
Yeah.
We need people.
Yeah.
So it's very important to choose your own support structure and the own village that you create that will help you.
That's very true.
Thank you for that. And I think it will help a lot of us. And it's not only just for the township boy or a village girl. It's for everyone. Wherever you find yourself, you need to really...
Even you and I.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, we still need that support system. We still need direction. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now you are in university. Life is happening. You made it through. Well done. Congratulations.
Oh, my God.
Where did you go?
No, the story of my success as well was not an easy one, right? Because I remember when I did my grade 12, I had my matric not qualifying me to go to varsity.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
But I've always been so ambitious about life. I've always wanted to be different. That's another thing about myself. I know when I did my grade 12, that time the professions that were on the trend were either your IT, electrical engineering, or engineering courses, right? But I was like, I'm not so handy. I'm not so creative in terms of, that space, And I was like, but I know I want to be something, but I don't know what that thing is, Um, I was encouraged to go to do education then at home, but I wasn't ready. Look at how tiny I look. I'm like, you get to a class, you come across these giant young men that are there in the back seat, ready for you. I'm like, yo, I'm always gonna have a problem. But anyway, I think I had to listen to that call of going to do education, and I thank whoever that was there at that time to support me and encourage me to do that, to walk through the course, because in between I had to balance. So I was working in the retail space,
Okay.
so that at least at home we can live, and then also studying on a distance learning. It's not easy at all.
Okay.
Hence, like when I finished my degree, I felt that I needed to go back and give to the community and make sure that I'm giving the support to the people that may be studying at a long distance learning.
Were you studying with UNISA?
I was studying with UNISA. Yes, that's correct. You can imagine.
Yeah.
So then I was fortunate that in my second year, an internship was introduced
Okay.
to me for the education course coming from the Global Teachers Institution. Funny enough, I'm working for the institution now,
Yeah.
Global Teachers. And the reason I always wanted to go back to the Global Teachers is because I saw how I struggled when I started with UNISA. I saw how I needed someone that was going to be there to, always support me, mentor me, and coach me around the space. And then that on its own then now made it um, like a thing for me to say, you know,
Okay.
when I'm done, I must go back and also
and give
give to
back.
the space. So, but it's been a journey, and it wasn't an easy one. There was a lot of failing that happened at times. The program almost kicked me out at some point, some space. Like they were like,
Yeah.
you know what, you are in this space and then you're not performing the way we want you to be performing. So we may excuse you. But I stayed the course. I committed, like I spoke about commitment. And I always aimed high. I was like, there's no way that I'm going to fail this course. I'm going to make sure that I'm into it to finish it. And I finished it, got my degree. I worked for a few schools. And then I also worked in a private. So I started my experiences in the space of teaching in the public schools. And then I went to a private school for 3 years. And that's where then I was like, you know what, I'm done with the classroom. I can't do the classroom anymore. Because one, my impact was not so big in the space. I could see that I'm enjoying the kids. However, kids are not really the biggest problem within our education space.
Okay.
But I felt like we needed more support within the teachers' spaces. In terms of, our teachers are going through the most. Let's not even speak about the salaries and whatnot, but
Okay.
our teachers are really going through the most. And most of them that are there, you find that they jumped into the space not because of they were passionate about the profession, but they needed to make ends meet
Okay.
in their families.
Let's
Yes.
hold it right there
Yes.
before they fire me.
Okay, yeah.
So we are sponsored by One Sati.
Okay.
One Sati means woman in my language, Tsonga. So it's a business that is founded by me. It was a 2020 baby.
Once a talk sasek.
Yes, washviri, wamgingiriko,
Namuona.
wakutira. So One Sati has products. These products are for personal care products. We always use products every day. So my question was like, who created all these things I'm using? I opened my cupboard, then a business idea came. And obviously me wanting to help was to empower people. These products, someone can take and start their own business and start. Wow. So we have a distributor program where you can come in, buy at a wholesale price, and then you go and sell. We train you as well, the love of teaching.
Yes.
So we have different products here. We have the fragrances. Most of our fragrances are inspired by the designer fragrances. We have the food range. This is a new baby on board. And then we also have a new baby. This I'm excited about, shea butter. My son has acne problems. So shea butter is a nice product that you use for your acne issues, skin issues. It's really great for that. Mm-hmm. So please do follow One Sati on OneSati brands.co.za, buy online and support the business and its mission of growing and starting entrepreneurs and helping them grow. Nice. So let's come back to the profession, the teaching profession. Yes. I hear that you chose the profession purely because I think it was the option that you had at the time. Did someone see that you are a good teacher, or it was like, you know what, this is a profession that is open? For example, with me, accounting, my brother applied for me, he filled the form, accounting, and then I found myself doing accounting. It chose me. So I'm not sure, did the teaching choose you based because it was a qualification that was the one that you had to have in university, or someone had? And as we reflect on that, we can just reflect on now the need for teachers. Do you think teachers choose the profession by virtue of them passionate about their profession, or they just need some ends meet? And I think you were saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice question there. I think for me, I always say teaching chose me. And that was something that I did reflections about later to understand. Hore, the people who were encouraging me to go for the course, what were they seeing in me? And I saw that there's so much qualities in me that really speaks a teacher by themselves. Yeah, with me not having to even get to a space and say I am a teacher, someone would just say, "Oh, there's so much that we learn from you."
Yeah.
And funny enough, one thing that I also realized was that we all are born teachers. Everyone, you are a teacher yourself. I've just learned something that we can open our cabinets and then boof, then you have a business idea. That's teaching on its own. That's a lesson that I'm taking. So we all are teachers. So for me, it chose me, but I then fell in love with it so much. All those fears that I had of standing in front of the classroom, all those fears that also the stigmas that I had of being in a classroom where there's boys that are very giant. You know, you'll be very surprised when you walk into my space where there are my last public school that I worked at, I had a class that had 23 boys and only, no, it's 33 boys and only 4 girls
Yeah.
in that space. And my first day when I went to that space, I was like, my God, am I going to survive here? And I was teaching life orientations for that matter. And in those schools, life orientations is taken as a free period. But funny enough, I changed the narrative. When I got to the space, the first day I went into the class, the boys wanted to show off, right? But I was like, you're not going to do it in my space. And I said to them, if you walk out of my space, don't come back. But at the end of the day, I will need my work. And I'm going to go to the principal to make sure that the work is there. So you guys will be working with the principal, right? But to cut it short, I think at the end, the boys started, or the whole class started to fall in love with the idea of life orientation, and the whole school started to fall in love with how I was teaching life orientation. And people were just shocked, like, how do you do it? Do you understand? So that's why I'm saying it chose me, but at the end of the day, I fell in love with it. And it makes it easy for me. But for others now, it's a bit of both now. You know, there's those people that are still going for teaching just because of it's easy to be employed. You know, there's a demand. But now, if you check, we are now there's a lot. I think there's someone that was trying to apply for education now with UNISA, and the application were rejected because of we have a lot of overflow of the people that are coming into the space. You know, so you need to be very passionate about it, because when you are, then it's easy for you to be employable. I think we would have conversations, you and I, through our phone calls and whatnot, and you tell me that people are not really skilled in their professions, and that's what makes them now to be disadvantaged. When we are looking for people to employ, we can't employ them because they don't have any skill. They are not into the profession. They don't have it within them, but they're just forcing for it. So it's a bit of both now. Some of them it's because they feel like it's easy to get employed. Some of them it's the passion. Yes.
So this question, I always ask it because I work with young people, especially at one side, that have qualifications that when you look at their CVs, they are very good. But when you get to interact with them, you realize there's a bit of gaps here. So employability then comes to play, because sometimes we feel like South Africa doesn't have a job. We're sitting with almost 60% of our youth unemployment. That is a very dangerous state to be in. But when we interact with the young people, we realize there's gaps. And sometimes we're not patient to start and fill in those gaps as employers or as people we interact with them. What do you think is the 101 activities that teachers must be using as a way to fill the gaps to ensure that kids are employable? I know it can be the curriculum, can be the teaching method, but overall, how can we resolve this issue?
You know, if there's one thing that I've always learned to realize about our life is that there's one education that we are being robbed of, and that's education of the self.
Yeah.
You can learn this all curriculum and master them, but if you don't master self, it becomes a problem. That's how you then now end up becoming useless because you don't know who you are. And if we can learn to find a way to teach people to understand the idea of the self, then we are done. So I always used to say to people in my spaces that I am not an English teacher, but I'm a teacher of life through English, right? I'm a teacher of life through Chivenda because those are the measures that I have in my qualification. Languages, Chivenda and English, life orientation being a bonus as well. So I'll tell them that I do not teach English, but I teach life using English. So if teachers can find elements of how do they bring the reality of lives into their subject or their areas of speciality in their teachings, we won't have the problems that you are identifying there. People not being employable, people presenting nice CVs that do not really reflect who they are. That's how you find the contradiction because people are so much here into their intellectuality, but not connecting to their hearts. So immediately we learn to help people to connect to their hearts, then we are done. Connecting to the self, then we are done.
And that helps in terms of lifelong learning, because then we sometimes go to school and then we want this qualification. Thank God I have the qualifications.
Yeah.
I think my LinkedIn looks so nice. But in real sense, you can have these long qualifications, but if you don't have that personal attachment to it and you are not working every day because there's new things happening in your profession, it means there has to be a realization. So education is all about realizing that I need a new skill, realizing that I don't know, realizing that I need to empower myself. Then it becomes a lifelong learning exercise. And in our curriculums at schools, maybe that is missing or it's there, but we just need to unleash it through the learning and the teaching process.
And I don't think it's even, we need to create it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not there because the curriculum will just tell you that teach this scholar that X plus X is 2X. But how do you conceptualize that to the life experiences? And teachers are not doing enough of that. There are ways that you can always teach people about the X and X being 2X and find a way how to join that or connect that to life. Like with my space in terms of language, right? When I'm teaching nouns are naming words. Then I'll have to emphasize on the idea of what is the importance of a name. Like I said to you when I was introducing myself to say, I am Tabero, not Tabero, because Tabero is another meaning. But if I'm saying Tabero, it means prayer, right? And I dive into that and make sure that when I'm teaching the nouns, I help the scholars in the classroom to understand the importance of their names. We start there. Who are you? Do you know that is a noun? Do you know the meaning behind your name? Go and find out. And my kids in grade 6, they were already knowing how to do journaling. I would ask them, try to tap into your thoughts. Ask questions to your parents. Ask questions to any of the elders that are around in your spaces. Why am I Tabero? Where is it coming from? And that's how it is, yes.
To have that reflection element of our lives and seeing the dots connect, because as we sitting here, you can then look back and journaling comes in, reflecting comes in. And it also emphasized the power of collaboration in the education space, because we always leave it to the teachers.
Yeah.
But then where are the parents in the space? So we need to, I think from your experience, are parents really aware that they also need to play in the collaborative element of teaching and
Like
learning?
I can drop tears now with that one.
Sorry.
Very sad. And we live in a very busy society, guys. I don't want to lie. Like people just want to make, a living. I want to attend this gig. I want to go make this money. I want to go do and we forget the people that are around us. See when you go to restaurants, go for a date with your friends now. Sit just around the table. We are busy here. And someone will have to call us, hey guys, come back, we are here. Can we put away our phones? But we can't because we are already just using to that space. We have detached from the people that we are supposed to be. And that is what is happening in our schools. You will only see parents in grade R or grade 1 when they come for the graduations of their kids. And maybe last time you will see them, it's when they bring their grade 8s to high school. It's very sad. It's very sad. I don't know whether the system is designed in a way that like parents, let's see you only on those days, and then after then we don't want to see you anymore. But if parents can wake up to a realization of how important it is for them to, and in the communities that I am serving now, like in the rurals, there where I work at, I feel like we have a lot of those people that have got so much time, and we also have the adults that are there, the elders in the space, because we need their wisdom, we need their knowledge. If they can just make time, let's say maybe after school, they just come through to the schools. Can we sit with the kids just for an hour, teaching them of the wisdom of the elders? Because we don't see that. At least then now we will then minimize some of the problems. You know, substance abuse in the schools. You ask yourself, where is the community when something is like that is happening? You know, and you ask yourself, are the teacher even trying to encourage some of the parents that they have in their schools to be involved? We create WhatsApp groups, and then it's like the only time you see something being sent into that space, it's when a teacher is announcing something. Parents won't even bother to respond at that, unless if you follow it up.
Yeah.
It's very painful, it's very sad. But like I'm saying, the society, the way it's designed, and how busy we have become as the people, we tend to not even be aware that we are missing out on a lot of things. And now we are disadvantaging the kids.
And we're shifting the responsibility. And the responsibility of being a parent, as much as you take your child to school, it also lies with you. But as I was reflecting and listening to you, I also just felt like we have a gap. Most children are either raised by their single parents, mother, or their grandparents. So that gap of a family structure then opens up this. And then now introducing the business that we're in, introducing the need for success, introducing the need of making the next, putting the food on the table, then the challenge becomes wide and it looks so unbearable and we can't solve it. But from your experience, if we were to solve it today, now, as we're listening to this podcast, what's that smallest little thing that I should do as a parent?
Take a pause. Just take a pause. And you'll thank yourself. Sometimes you'll think you're doing that for the community. You think that you're doing that for the kids at school. You think that you're doing that for other people. But it's for your own advantage at times. You know, there's people that will just collapse and die. And you ask yourself, what happened? No, they just collapsed, they died. And then you only realize later that this person was very busy in their spaces. And they were not aware that they have a problem. And they needed to take a pause. Let's take a pause, guys.
Yeah.
Let's love yourself like nobody's business. Just have that self-love. And self-love means that you take a time away to just listen to yourself. Be aware of who you are. Then immediately you find yourself. Then it's easy to
then it connects the rest
do you
of
understand?
the things.
Exactly.
So the power of silence, the power of closing off, the power, and now we have a phone that it's another TikTok challenge.
Do you understand? Yeah,
we are competing with a lot. Kuningi. Like kuningi in the language of TikTok.
Keeps on
so
getting kuningi.
In real sense, that pause, that silent, that reflective moment.
Yeah.
And it also goes to spirituality, religion. Pause can be prayer sometimes.
It is.
Pause can be you going to your village and understanding your ancestral direction and what they do. So there's so much, but pause in a way of pausing as we're listening and breathing and understanding that you are also blessed with the seconds of breathing in and out. And that's all we need.
Yes.
So now you are in the education space, you are working. Give us a bit of journey of how you maneuvered from the first school, to where you are now at the Global Education Institute, right?
Yeah, Global Teachers Institute.
Yeah.
So you want me to take you back to...
You can just, it will be interesting that I worked in an environment like this,
Sure.
It's in the hours, the numbers, it's in the hours.
So my primary school, I started in Venda.
Yeah.
My grade 1 to...
No, I mean where you worked.
So where I worked, okay, so
Yeah.
I should not go back
No,
to...
where
I
you
just start
now as an
as an
educator.
educator.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have to mention the name of schools?
No, you don't have to
Oh,
mention the names of
but
schools.
yes, when I finished my degree within the Global Teachers Institute, the school that I was serving could not have a post for me. It was very sad.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge for us as an organization, GTI, because we struggle to place these people. But we are encouraging the schools to say, if you are available, please take us in and then absorb us and see what happens. So they
Okay.
didn't have a post for me at the time. But however, I was fortunate because wherever I go, I make sure that I leave a mark. That's one thing that I can always encourage to the people that are still in
Okay.
the space of working the journey. Leave a mark. Have something that is gonna have people remember you. So I went to this other school that I had served for a month or so when I was doing my practicals. I said to them, I'm done with my qualification, but I don't have any employment. And then they're like, oh, you're very lucky because the subject that you are doing, there's a teacher that is going on a leave for 3 months. So we can take you in. That was the start of my journey there. Quite interesting. It was very, wow, yeah. 3 months without getting paid. You only get the salary after the 3 months. But it was quite a great journey. And then after then, COVID happened. And when COVID happened, applying for jobs was not easy then. But I was lucky to find this other private school that needed people to teach on distance learning, like online, right? Then I applied with them. The next minute, COVID was gone, and then they now wanted us to come into the school and be full-time at the school. And then I worked there for 3 years. So, yeah, I didn't say much in the classroom. Like I said to you, my journey in the classroom was not that much because I felt like I needed to have the impact at a larger scale. But when I left the private school that I was working for, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I needed a pause
Okay.
because I felt like I was being overwhelmed within the space that I was at. I remember faith works, guys. Faith works. I left that school not knowing what I was gonna do. I had just bought a bond at that time. I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But I was like, I'm ready. If it means that I lose everything and I start afresh, I'm okay, I'm ready. But within a week after resigning, I was getting a call from another public school saying, we need you. Because I had allowed myself to pause. That time of pausing allowed me to also think, do I really want to go back to the classroom or do I want to do something different? And it was like, I still want to be in the teaching space, but I can't be effective enough when I'm in the classroom because there's more that I feel like I need to do, and the classroom limits me. So when I went to that school that just phoned me to say, we have a post for you, Global Teachers Institution was also phoning to say, we also have something for you. Are you still interested in coming to our space? And that time I'm having a question now, Hori, job security. In a public school, you have job security. Our institution is an NPO. We rely on funders,
Okay.
right? But the thing was like, do I really want to be in it for money and job security or for the impact? And the idea was like, I need to be there for the impact. Then I opted for the Global Teachers, which I started last year in April.
Okay.
With all the other experiences. Is it 5 or 6 years of teaching in the classroom? And then after then, I was like, let me leave the classroom and then to go and work in spaces that are going to not limit me only to the kids and to one school, but it's going to explore me to be in different schools, different teachers, and I impact not only the teachers, but also the scholars directly and indirectly so.
So it's not easy. So in my life, I'm a career coach.
Okay.
I meet a lot of young people, older people that are frustrated in their career journey. They want to take a pause like you, but they have debts and they have bonds and they have families. Most as black people, we even have like black tax, as they call it. So it's not as easy to just jump off. And I think for you, maybe it was, but you can maybe zoom in a bit there to say, what is the benefit of pausing and finding that that inner peace about the next career path and career shift and career transition? And what does it take? Because it comes with fear, it comes with a lot of doubt.
Hey.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, I need to say. I need to be very honest. It was not easy, but I thought it all out. And I was like, I'm ready for anything. I remember the Friday that I submitted my resignation, my line manager was saying to me, we can still reverse this. And I was like, you know what, I don't know if I want to reverse it, but I think I'm done. Then she said to me, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna submit this to my boss. I'll keep it. Maybe Monday when you come back, you have changed your mind. Trust you me, when I got home that Friday, I could not sleep. And I was like, when they say depression exists, I felt that in that space of time. The whole Saturday, I was locked in the house, and I was staying by myself that time because I had already moved to the bond house that I had bought, and I was staying by myself. It was tough. Saturday, I was locked in the house the whole day. And when Sunday came, I was like, if I remain in this space, they will find me dead. And I needed to find strength and courage because I did not want to tell my parents the decisions that I was making at the time because I knew they were not going to support that. But on Sunday, I was like, let me drive to my friends and also drive to Alex to see my dad. And if I managed to do that, at least maybe I would know I'm still alive. Because on Saturday, I felt like I was dead. I wasn't sure if my spirit and my flesh were still together. So it wasn't easy. I don't want to lie. That decision on its own, it's not easy. So I drove on Sunday to see my dad and my friends and went back to the house, slept. Monday, I had to go back to work. And I had to confirm with my line manager to say, you know what, I'm done. Please submit that letter. I'm done. Because through that process, I realized to say, these material things, we are going to die and leave them. And I was like, now, if it means that I want to be in a space where I'm crying for these material things, then my life is as good as I'm a dead person.
And as you're reflecting, it's really an indication of impactful work, and choosing to work for impact brings in success, obviously, afterwards, but it needs you to die to self. It needs you to really surrender, and it needs you to say, I'm ready. So most of the time, transition is dying because you need to kill the past, kill what you're doing, understand that is not existent, and look forward to the next thing. So most of us, we want to hold on to the past. So when I coach my people, you can see this person is holding on to the past, is holding on to the black text, is holding on to. So you need to get to that courage. And it seems it's the voice that is in you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to silence your parent. And so good luck to whoever has to make this decision. And one way or another, it always comes back.
Yeah.
One way or another in our professional life, you could be working, but there will be that voice. So there won't be anybody who says, I don't have such moments. I just got the perfect job. Because the perfect job sometimes becomes so comfortable. Like me, when I'm comfortable with my work, I can do it with my eyes closed. I know it's time to leave.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about the work that you guys do at Global Teachers Institution and the impactful work that you are now committed to do in terms of the education space.
Wow, such a beautiful space to work for.
Yeah.
Guys, I'd encourage anyone to come and work with us. Like, that space is very amazing.
As long as they have that moment.
You know us. But it's quite an amazing space. Like I always say like I was saying to you earlier, that it allows one to impact not only the learners, but you are impacting the teachers, you are impacting the learners, you are impacting the community. So Global Teachers Institute stands for the idea of advocating for the community. So part of our core values are social development, or we are so into giving back to the community. We have empathy, which is one that I'm very vocal around. You know, we need to be empathetic people, and we have had a lot of teachers that do not have empathy to their learners. But now what we're saying, and you find that the teacher is very good with context. You know, you can give them any class, any topic to teach, and they will teach it so nicely, but they cannot connect with the kids. So hence I say to you that the biggest one for me in the Global Teachers Institute is the empathy one, right? So those are the core values that we have, you know, master of content, empathy, social responsibility, and Ubuntu as well.
So right? You actually work with teachers?
We work with aspiring teachers.
Okay.
We say it that way. They are aspiring teachers because these are teachers in training. Okay. Teachers that are studying towards their qualification. So we have how many regions? 7 regions across the country. 1 in Cape Town, 3 in Mpumalanga, and then we have 1 in Northern Cape, We have one here in Gauteng, and then we also have one in the area that I'm working at, Sikukuni, Limpopo, right? And we are serving more than 100 students across. So it's quite amazing the work that we do,
Okay.
because all the graduates that we've ever had in our spaces, when they go to the schools, they are ready, and they even do more and much better than any other teacher that may have came from any other institution, with whatever the qualification that they have, right? Because we equip them, and we are there to make sure that their journey is smooth and their journey is very impactful as well. It's at a
Okay.
greater scale, because it's me as their supervisor, and it's the mentor as well. So there's a qualified teachers that works with these aspiring teachers within the school.
Okay.
So that's how what makes our great work even greater as well.
So your institution offers qualifications in education, or you work with teachers that are registered with other institutions, you just support them? How's the value chain?
So for you to be a part of us is that you must be registered with UNISA.
Okay.
We currently now have a relationship with UJ as well,
Okay.
which is just developed now. But we've always worked with UNISA. So you must be registered with UNISA. You must be funded by either FUNZA or NEFSAS, right? And then we take you through your 4 years journey of the qualification.
In support of the UNISA program.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So more like tutoring, lessons, shaping of a teacher.
That's correct. Like
Okay.
in terms of how you should manage your classroom, we are there to support you with that. All the other methodologies that you need to have in terms of how to be a perfect teacher, if there's something like that, yes.
So in this space, you work a lot with communities
Yes.
and the schools. So what comes up? Because we always hear on the news that this school, there was a student who stabbed another student. So many other challenges that comes through. Now we're actually, as a country, dealing with an issue where students are eating things. So there's so many other challenges that comes in. So from your experience on the ground, what really is coming through, and what can communities do to assist in the process?
They say ngumntu ngabantu. And they also say it takes a village to raise a child. And earlier on, we spoke about parental involvement within our spaces, which is something that we really need to find a way to bring it into space or bring it into practice, because we can only do so much as an institution or as GTI. Our focus mostly is on these aspiring teachers, that they can be able to connect with the scholars at their level. But when it comes to the community, we can only do so much. Ours is just to, so what we do in the communities is that we teach these aspiring teachers to say, you don't just work for the classroom, but you need to find a way to give back to the community. So they will have projects that they'll be running, like your aftercare programs, charity basis projects. So these are the things that we are instilling in these aspiring teachers that we have in our spaces. But I think when it comes to the community involvement, I really feel like the communities should take it to their hands, to their shoulders, to say, what can we do? If Global Teachers is really focusing on shaping the teachers, making sure that we have the right teachers in our spaces, as communities, what can we do? So yeah.
And I would just want our listeners to reflect as they're listening to say, I have the call to do something, because we are the community.
Yeah.
We are all produced by schools. So, for example, I'm from Kechayo, I'm from Shimoi. I can always reflect and say, what am I doing to Shimoi as I'm sitting here? Like, I'm a product of those schools. So it's a call to everyone who's listening to say, you can send 100 rand, you can send help, you can also send education and knowledge. So it takes a village indeed to improve our communities. So reflecting on what the work that you do, the quality of education, like in your opinion, the curriculum, we always have curriculum changes. We always have people commenting and say, we have the best curriculum, but the implementation, others say, no, our curriculum is not the best. So there's a bit of gaps and a bit of debate there. But from what you have experienced, what is the state of the quality of our education?
I'm very skeptical into going to those spaces of
Yeah.
curriculum because I'm learning to realize that as Africans we have been cheated on.
Yeah.
The curriculum that we are teaching our people does not really speak to our people. So hence, like, I don't even want for us to dive so much
Like
into
you
it
are.
because, I don't want tomorrow to find the education minister coming to my space to say, hey, what were you saying about that? And what do you want us to do or what do you think? But really, there's so much that we need to challenge. And I wish the curriculum designers can start to reflect on it, to think, does this curriculum really speak to our people? Because if you were asking now, and then I was telling you about the principles, basic principles of Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Umuntu ngabantu, it takes a village to raise. These are the things that, as I was growing up, my grannies were talking that language, right? But they are not a part of our curriculum. Our kids do not know. We are so much of that solo type of I want to shine by myself. I want to be the first black.
Individualist. Yeah, we are
I
such
want to
an
be the first Kasi
individualistic.
boy from Alexandra that owns something like this, something like that. So our curriculum really is it's. Let's not even go there. Like I'm saying, I'm very skeptical around
We
it. It
already
doesn't
made.
speak to our
We
people.
already know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying is that's why we see employability being an issue because it doesn't get to us, the people. So we need to, even as teachers, as much as the curriculum is not changed, but it's just that element of adding those elements of it has to speak to the student. It has to speak to the people. So in real sense, so you are a man and you operate in the spaces. You can see the challenges that comes with being a young man. I'm raising two boys, 1 and 2 years. So I would want to steal a bit of wisdom as I'm raising this young man. As we focus, because there is focus on girls and we have programs, but what can we do to shift and not shift, but to also give a focus on the young boy who's growing? A story of a young boy is close to my heart.
I know, and we can relate, you and I.
Yeah.
You remember I said that when I was growing up in the township, I didn't have those spaces. And funny enough, people would think that I don't have a father figure in my life. I do. Both my parents are still there. And this other day, I was telling my father to say, you've always been there, but not there. And he didn't understand. I was like, yes, you made sure that you provided for us as your kids. But I feel like there's an element of the emotional attachment that was not there between you and I. And I feel like you cheated me on that element because I don't really understand myself as a young man that grew up in this society to say, what does it really mean to be a man? So we really need more safe spaces for the young men, because I think the other thing that was really troubling me when I went to the space of teaching was that many of our teachers are females, if you've ever noticed. Go to many schools, you'll see. There's a school that only has got one male figure in it. And you ask yourself to say, okay, what are the young men in the schools there learning? Who's really inspiring them? Who do they look up to? It's always female voices. And that is why we have so many young men that are broken. And, it's very important that we as parents, like you are raising young men, like you are saying you have two young boys, find spaces that are there. There's people that are already creating spaces. There's a space that I'm a part of, Men Speak Out, that is run by Matala Nemokaka there in Jane Fest. That is a safe space for many of us as men that are growing in that space. But you'll find that there's many men that do not know about that. I just got to Jane Fest last year and I already know of the space. And people will be asking, how did you find the space? I'm like, because I research. I know what I want. So when I go to social media, I check for things that speaks to me, speaks to the things that I understand. So parents, let's find those spaces. And if they are not there, let's create them for our young men, right? Like I did for myself when I was still in Alexandra, like I said in 2017. I had to create it for myself because it wasn't there. And then I had to call it Smart Idiot. And then from there, I was able to attract Ebukosini Solutions that has Shabaka, men in the Mountain. That's a space that speaks to the men. But many of our parents do not know those spaces. So let's have people speaking about those spaces. Let's have parents researching about those spaces so that at least we have these young men having the right knowledge that they need, having the right wisdom that they need, because there are brothers that are so amazing out there that will model your boys to become the men that you really want. Yeah. And it's just by doing that. Let's create those spaces if they're not there. If they are there, let's make sure that we are sending these young men into those spaces. And maybe I'll also encourage, if it's possible, that people like Bomatala and Mukhatla that are already running the spaces of young men or men at large, spaces like Boshabaka in Ebokosini, and then the Smart Idiots. Let's go to these schools, introduce our spaces. Let's tell people what we do and how these spaces have benefited us as men that never had role models in our upbringing. Hey,
Yeah.
upbringing though. Yes. So we never had those men that were there to model us, to motivate us, and then we had to create them.
So what I'm taking is that we need to be intentional as
Yeah.
parents who are raising boys.
You know what I like with what you're saying? The motto of my space, Smart Idiot, it says move smart with intention. So we need to be very intentional. So I'm one person that stands for intentions. I would tell people to say there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right, but the intention is the one that matters. What are your intentions?
At
Let's
the
be
end of the
intentional.
day.
Yes.
And I was reflecting with my partner recently about boys, because when we hire young men to be sales reps and at one side, young people, we hire both male and female, and the males don't last.
Yeah.
In a week, they're already like coming in a bit late. You can already see that, no, this young man, but the girls are consistent. They push, even when they are struggling, because most of the time they don't have the sales skills. We need to push and empower them. But they push, even if they didn't make sales last week, they're not giving up. So, and we're reflecting to say, but what's the challenge? And my answer was the fact that young men are raising themselves. Because most of the time, as a woman, you are with your mother, they are telling you, go fetch wood. If I'm not there at 6, where's Millicent? But no one is asking, where's my sibling or my brother, in a way. So we need to also be intentional as we raise both female and male to say that they need to be surrounded. And you, like you're saying, there might not be a male figure, but let's have male structures and male figures with intention.
That's true.
So we are about to conclude, and this conversation, I can talk.
Yeah.
That one I am sure about. I just want a job that can pay me for talking. And coming to that, I'm a teacher as well. So I lectured at TUT. I do a lot of training. I'm actually at MGIRS where I'm working. I'm a head of training. So you find that I'm training 3 sessions, 4 hours, 8 hours. I'm like, wow.
No, you make
so
it
there's
the teacher.
a teacher. This teacher in me is
Yeah.
always talking, so we can talk. But I can see that they're about to chase us.
Okay.
So before we do that, let's just reflect on numbers. Like this show is all about numbers. What do numbers mean to you as a person, as a professional? Anyhow, I didn't prepare you for this question.
Yeah. When you're asking about numbers, which is funny now because, like I said, I would always bring it to language. But however, when we talk numbers, so this friend of mine, who's a motivational speaker and author and whatnot, he says between the day you were born, which is a number, right? You will find the number yourself. You know when you were born, maybe in 1970 something on it's number, that one. And the day that you pass, right? When we write that, there's a dash in between, right? So he says these 2 numbers do not really have so much value, but the numbers that are in between that dash, or the narrative that is between the dash that separates those numbers, matters the most. So what do you do to add value to the number of your date of birth up to the number of your date of death? What numbers are you writing there in between?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for that reflection, because the value of numbers, when you say 1, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't communicate anything. But when then 1 is like I'm the first person to do 1, 2, 3,
Give
4,
it a
5,
meaning.
means there's a meaning
Yeah.
to it. So we must always be aware and alert that we are numbers.
Yeah.
We are numbers.
Yeah.
When I tell you my age in the day of birth, it's numbers, but
Yeah.
I need to add. Someone will already know that, okay, you are this age, you should be here. So sometimes they say age is just a number. No, it's not just a number. It's the value.
Yeah.
Age is the value that you create yourself intentionally.
True.
And you have reflected that with your background from a village boy, township boy, to choosing and walking away to certain spaces that doesn't feed you. That is you creating value.
Yeah.
And we really celebrate you, and we
you so
are
much.
so proud of the work that you do. So talking about education, I need to say this quote of mine about education.
Okay.
So I always
Please don't say education is the key to success.
no. This one is my quote. So I
Okay.
always say education is not to dictate what we do, but is to help us do what we do with wisdom, knowledge, understanding. And obviously, there's frameworks to education. And education is, because most of us, because I'm an accountant, I need to work with the numbers and I need to work with the books. But I need to choose. It doesn't dictate me. So what you have reflected with your life, your education is not a dictation to say, stay in the classroom. And what can you say really about that? Because most people are struggling to shift and to maneuver in closing and, yeah.
You know what? For me, education is just the understanding of discovery that you make about life. Because every day we are discovering. You know, what I was yesterday is not what I am today. So if you learn to understand that life is about discoveries and that's education, we are done.
And we get educated every day.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
You grow like that.
No, thank you so much. And we really appreciate
Thank you so
and
much.
we honor even the village that you always have, from your family to your friends to your community at large and your organization. We really do appreciate the work that you are doing.
Thank you.
The narrative that you're adding to the numbers, because I'm sure you report in numbers
Yeah.
when you send reports about
Yeah.
the impact of these institutions and everything that we do, but it's the narrative, and continue to own that narrative.
No, thank you for having me.
So from your village girl, okay, your businesswoman, your education activist, Millicent Mashele, I'm very honored to be hosting you today. And indeed, numbers are really a meaning to us, and our days are numbered. So I would say, Lord, help us number our days so we can gain wisdom and be intentional in what we do.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Doribuwa.